You're listening to Middle-Age Movie Reviews.
Hello, welcome to the Middle-Age Movies Podcast. Four guys saying, I don't want you men to be fooled about what's coming up for you. Torture, at the least. The Podcasters Union number 234 promised me 180 podcasters. They sent me 3. You're the 3. So each of you will have to do the work of 60 men. If you fail, I'll have you spread eagle on a wagon wheel. If you desert, you'll be found, tracked down, and broken into bits. That's all. My name is Tim, and my podcasting conscripts are...
Major Matt.
Joey.
Dungeon Master Rick.
All right, Joey. Why don't you tell us what musical performance we are watching from the General's tent tonight?
Tonight we are watching Rio Grande, number 224, from the book of 1001 Movies You Should Watch Before You Die, written by James Kevin McGinnis and James Warner Bella, directed by John Ford, starring John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, Ben Johnson, Claude Jarman Jr., and the Sons of the Pioneers.
Well, thanks, Joey. Okay, guys. Now, I'm going to start us off by saying that Westerns, war films, and John Wayne are all a white space for me. So anytime we get a chance to watch one of these, I'm hopping on it. I would like to let you know that this is the first time I've ever watched Rio Grande. I have found it a little interesting, and I'm looking forward to discussing this John Ford picture with you guys. Tim, since you're our resident John Wayne scholar, when was the first time you watched Rio Grande?
Matt, I'm going to probably floor you on this one. This is my first time. I thought I had seen this movie before. I have not. It's another one that has eluded me. So this will be the second time that you and I sit down and watch a John Wayne film to which I have not watched. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Interesting. All right. Well, Rick, I'm wondering, as someone who probably shares a similar taste in live action films, when was the first time you saw Rio Grande?
Dude, so this was crazy for me because when I was a real tiny little kid, I think I saw maybe A Fistful of Dollars, and I saw The Good, the Bad, the Ugly a couple times. You know, I mean, I'm talking I was like real young. I don't even remember it, okay?
So like last year?
No. that is the extent my Western stuff. I mean...
You almost made me spit that out my drink.
But for real, if I'm not including stuff like Tombstone, you know what I'm saying? If I'm talking about like old school Westerns, that is like the extent for the most part. I was kind of hyped when I was like, okay, you know, let's check this one out. You know, this is like a legitimate Western, you know what I mean? And yesterday was the first time. So I'm like actually really jazzed. I'm really excited to talk about this one.
All right. Fantastic. Well, you know what? I am curious because there's 3 of us that saw this for the first time. Joey, I know Westerns and John Wayne aren't like exactly your cup of tea. Are you going to be the outlier and tell us something else? I'm curious. When was the first time that you went into that tent and watched Rio Grande?
Right now, because I was busy and I'm fucking tired. I've overworked and I woke up early and I'm not liking what I'm seeing.
Jeez. Podcasting 101. Always watch the movie at least 4 hours before we podcast.
Yeah, do your homework.
Okay, Tim. Well, as the colonel of this here ragtag group of film reviewers, what are you going to request for our synopsis tonight?
All right. Man, I thought about this long and hard. And I know the last time we did a John Wayne film, you were very bummed because I made you do it as Ransom Stoddard for the man who shot Liberty Valance, Jimmy Stewart's character, which you did a great job. You do an excellent Jimmy Stewart. So this time, I almost was not going to let you do John Wayne again. I was going to make you do it as the Irish Sergeant Timothy Quincannon, but I thought that was a little close to home, a little too much in your wheelhouse, and I know you may never forgive me if I don't let you do at least John Wayne in one of these podcasts. So, sir, this evening, for the first time, you are going to be able to break out your John Wayne as you read the synopsis as Lieutenant Colonel Kirby York as he addresses his new arriving recruits.
Matt, before you get started, I thought for a second you were going to be like, Matt, for the first time, for the last time.
You want me to do it as Darth Helmet? Is that it?
I would like you to do it as Lieutenant Colonel Darth Helmet.
I can't even breathe in this thing.
All right, excuse my interruption.
All right, men. Now listen up. I'm your commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Kirby York, and our job is to defend settlers from the Apache raids across the Rio Grande River. Now I know some of you know that my son is among you, but I'm not going to give him any more special attention than the rest of you. I don't care if my estranged wife is pursuing me to dismiss Trooper York from my command. We have a clear duty to perform as United States Cavalry, and every man will uphold that commitment. We've been ordered to do a risky court-martial worthy mission to pursue those Indians across the Rio Grande and flush them out. All right, men, I expect you to follow orders with bravery and honor. Who knows, some of you junior officers may find your manhood. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a coffee waiting for me with General Sheridan. Dismissed.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
All right.
He finally gets a little John Wayne action. There you go. There you go.
Right.
Check it off the bucket list.
Now, take 2. Do it as Rick Moranis as Darth Helmet.
Yes. All right, Matt. Are you happy now? You get to tick it off your death clock checklist here of things that you wanted to do in the podcast.
Yes, I am happy I got to do my John Wayne.
All right.
The key to a good John Wayne impersonation is sounding constipated.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that, partner.
I'd like to hear Joey give me a little example.
Well, Pilgrim.
Bart.
Sorry about that.
That's what we get. We get 2 words.
You didn't hear me fart?
No.
No.
I literally did. Yes, I did.
I thought you were going to do it like as John Wayne when he was, in his like last movie where not only you contemplated, but you're just out of breath the whole time too.
Nah, dude. It sounded like you got to check your pants, Joey. It sounded wet, bro.
I did not hear it, man. Well, Matthew, now that we've heard you do your most excellent John Wayne imitation, I think now we need to see how it fares against the trailer. So if you would, sir, without further ado, let's all of us watch the trailer.
How did you fare on patrol?
We captured Natchez, the chief, 8 others before the Apaches reached the Rio Grande and crossed into Mexico. Pursuant to orders, I halted on our side of the river and didn't like it very much.
And neither do I, but that's the policy, and soldiers don't make policy.
I haven't seen you for 15 years.
So I've been told, sir.
On the official record, you're my son. But on this post, you're just another trooper. I don't want you men to be fooled about what's coming up for you. I've chosen my way of life. Hope you have the guts to endure it.
He shouldn't have enlisted. I've come to take Jeff home.
He signed enlistment papers. He took an oath.
I'm going to work this out my own way.
Had concentrated 3 tribes. This means real trouble, gentlemen.
I want you to cross the Rio Grande. Hit the Apache and burn them out. I'm tired of hit and run. I'm sick of diplomatic hide and seek.
I waited a long time for that order, sir.
Ramrod, wreckage and ruin. Still the same Kirby.
Jeff must learn that a man's word in even his own destruction, is the honor.
Ramrod, wreckage, and ruin. Man, I love that line.
I got to say, that's a pretty exciting trailer for the Blu-ray edition.
Yeah, I watched the original trailer, the one from the 50s that Republic put out, and it's far more, he's campy. It's well done. I mean, it's very nostalgic, but unfortunately, the audio on it is just not there.
Yeah, this one, they cleaned it up. It looks great. I mean, even the font that says John Wayne, Academy Award winner, that's good, clean trailer. I'm digging it.
And I'm going to say, Matthew, I think your synopsis write-up is pretty close. It's on par with the trailer. In fact, it might be even a little better descriptive than the trailer itself.
Well, thank you. I got to say, the fact that I've probably watched this movie 3 times in a row because I kept falling asleep watching the movie.
Oh.
Because as exciting as the trailer looks, I was not getting captivated by the movie.
Nah, man, not me, dude. I was in it all the way. Actually, I had to pause it because I had something happen, but I was all the way through, man.
Did you get a little too excited?
No. It was. I got a lot to say. I just say that. I got a lot to say.
Gotcha. Joey, how about you? What do you think of the trailer?
I'm so excited.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and dive into this movie. So what's kind of cool is this movie opens up with like a grandiose set piece of the Old West. I mean, per John Ford's resume, he uses the 30 days of filming to truly give the scope of this Western setting. We see Chimney Rock like several times in this opening sequence. Now, I don't know if it's actually Chimney Rock or like rock formation similar to it, but yeah, this you can tell is being shot out west in Arizona and Texas and all that. What do you guys think of this classic opening, sweeping shots and old credit sequence like Mel Brooks made fun of in Young Frankenstein?
You and I kind of touched base on The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which is also a John Ford film. And this is the dynamic that I was talking to you about that was missing in that one, because where he really tried to use a very small budget to film a Western, he wasn't allowed to make an epic. Here is a John Ford epic. This film was kind of a throwaway too. It's not a top tier John Ford Western by any means. He was actually forced by Republic to make this film because he wanted to do The Quiet Man, which I think is a far superior film, but it was going to be super expensive. So they thought, well, if we get John Ford and John Wayne to make this one, we'll make a bunch of money. It can help finance what we think is probably going to be a money pit. But regardless, he gets the scope. This is what I was talking about. This is truly the era of the Western. And although the story is not as good as the stories that are written today, it's not like a Tombstone or something like that. It's a much more simplistic one, but it gets down to the meat and potatoes of it. You still get a pretty decent story, but you get these epic landscapes and you get a fairly decent amount of real people mounted on horses, cavalry and Indians. So you're really getting the feel of a massive Western. And that's what I love about these old Westerns.
I do have to agree with you. I think the fact that we get the scope right off the bat, but as we watch the story, it seems very much like a bottle story. I mean, a lot of what happens is done in the fort. I just think the way that we've established this, but now we're going to shrink the story down to these areas.
Yeah, it was really smart the way they did it, for sure.
You know, the thing that actually stood out to me was the intro music. And the reason is because it wasn't the song that I thought it was, but it was so much like the melody and everything was so much like it. It was a song called Homeward Bound. And it came from like a poem in, I think, the late 1800s. But it had since put music behind it, and it's fairly common song. It is almost completely like it. It is clearly has been some inspiration with it, but for I think this person who made the score, unless I'm mistaken, Victor Young. But when I was listening to it, I was just like, oh my God, this is it, right? And there was a few notes different here and there, and then there was a few melodies that had changed as the intro proceeded and the credits were unfolding and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought that was super cool. I actually do recall singing this song, memorizing this song for a particular performance that I did. But yeah.
Nice. I'm just glad it wasn't The Everlasting Arms, because I think I had that stuck in my head for like weeks.
It's big. It sounds big, but at the same time, it's like I'm not watching the best version of it that's probably available. So I'm not getting this theatrical experience. So it's, I can't really comment on it. It's probably much more Rio Grande than I experienced.
Nice. Well, Rick had mentioned that the song that they played was Homeward Bound, which I think is poignant considering that the soldiers are on their way back to the fort when we see our hero, John Wayne, who plays Lieutenant Colonel Kirby York, as he leads his troops in the Texas frontier. We see that York has just captured the Apache leader. I have a hard time saying this name. One of you guys can help me out. I think it's Natchez.
I don't know if any of us can pronounce it correctly, dude. So you just do the best you can, and we're just going to back you up that that's correct.
All right. I'm going to call him Natchez then. So they have the Apache leader, and the Apaches have been using Mexico as a sanctuary from pursuit. The regiment is suffering from serious shortage of troops. We also learn that York's estranged son has failed out of West Point. Colonel York hasn't seen his son Jeff in 15 years. I find it rather interesting that we get this exposition at the beginning of the film, but it's not like boring exposition. The way that John Ford lays everything out. We get John Wayne has some coffee, talks to the general, and we get all this exposition. It's done really well, and you don't really see that a whole lot lately. A lot of times, you get stuck into a movie and like just exposition heavy.
Dude, I don't know, man. I kind of thought that scene was a little bit of commentary with regard to the coffee and how much Lieutenant Colonel was looking forward to it. Then when he got it, he was like, oh yeah, this isn't like super good. It's not strong enough or something like that. I think he said. I think that was his problem with it. It's just the coffee wasn't strong enough. You know what I mean?
I think it was more of a metaphor as to this, the state of affairs in the cavalry as a whole and the orders that they have to follow. That's kind of how I took the coffee.
So I hear what you're saying. I think there definitely is some symbolism in there. And I kind of thought that it maybe has something to do with Lieutenant Colonel as man. This whole film to me was a lot about manhood and honor and chivalry and stuff. And I felt like something about his person, about his manhood over the years had been weakened. And I thought that's what that conversation represented to me.
See, I took it a little bit different because they talk about how long has it been since we've sat down and had this coffee. And Colonel York spits out the date. It's been this many years, days, months, down to almost the second. And what that does is that takes him back to Shenandoah. And this is the only part of the film that I think is lacking in any of the exposition or explanation. We'll find out later there's a comment to one of the Irish sergeants. He's called something because of something that happened at Shenandoah.
Yeah.
And basically what that means is they haven't seen each other since the Civil War. That's really what they're alluding to was back then. And that's that's when men did the duty that they needed to do. And we didn't play by all these political rules. We had a mission, we had a purpose, and we did it. And now we have to play politics all the time with these Indians, and I'm not happy about that. The Shenandoah thing was one of the last fights that they had. Shenandoah was the breadbasket of the South, and the South hung on to it for a very long time. There was like 5 or 6 major battles fought there, and the last one, orders were given to just burn everything, burn down the farms so that they would destroy this source of food and supply for the South, which inevitably ends up crippling them massively. But the North went to just raiding tactics. If we can't beat them, we're going to burn them out. That also will come into play with his wife, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But so I think when he's like, yeah, the coffee's just not as strong, I think it was kind of a comment as, now we have to play all these politics, where back then we were soldiers and we did what needed to be done, and there was no question about doing it. But there are a lot of overtones of honor and manhood growing up and becoming oneself, true to oneself and your commitments.
I have to agree with you. I think this cup of coffee sequence is layered like an onion. There's so much subtext within that conversation that I definitely see where you're coming from, and I also see where Rick's coming from. I do have to say that some of this does have to do with manhood, but I also find this movie has a lot to do with fathers and sons. As we go through the movie and we find out that York's son, Trooper Jefferson, shows up as part of the 18 recruits that arrive help out his regiment. Trooper Jefferson's here because he failed mathematics at West Point and he flunked out. He immediately enlisted as a private in the Army. So this causes some tension with Colonel York, finds out that his son is there. When he hears roll call, he's like, oh, wait, that's my boy. York immediately knows, okay, here's how I'm going to handle the situation. I'm going to inform them that, okay, this is what you all have to look forward to. I believe Tim came into it perfectly with the intro to the movie. If you're not going to do what I expect you to do, I'm going to tie you up to a wagon wheel. Colonel York winds up calling Trooper York to his personal quarters and basically has a one-on-one conversation with his son, telling him like, hey, look, you're not going to get any special treatment. This is a brutal way of life that he's chosen. And Jeff basically says, hey, bring it on. I don't expect to be treated any differently. And so through his willingness to undergo any test or trial, Jeff winds up befriending several people within the regiment. One person he befriends is Travis Tyree, and another is Daniel Sandy Boone. Is it just me, or is this supposed to be the same Daniel Boone that winds up at the Alamo?
I think it's supposed to be. It was actually a throw-in character. Supposedly he was not in the original script, but Harry Carey Jr. wanted to be in the film, so they just wrote that character in real fast for him, and they just named him Daniel Boone. So I'm assuming he will be the infamous Daniel Boone later on. But I'd have to look at the timeline because I don't know. Rick, do you remember when's the Battle of the Alamo? What year is that? Do you remember?
I think that it was before the Civil War, actually. Let me double check.
Okay. I kind of thought it was too, because even
it is 1836. Okay. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, it's 1836. So this cannot possibly be the same Daniel Boone. But John Ford also has a bad habit of using similar or almost exact same names throughout all of his, films. There's another cavalry film where John Wayne's in it, and he's Captain York, but it's not spelled Yorke like it is in this one. It's just York. Is it the same one? I don't know. I don't think it is, because the same guy that plays the sergeant in this one is in that one, but he's got a completely different name. So I don't believe it is. I think John Ford's just a little lazy sometimes. I think he's like, good enough. Just name him Daniel Boone, throw him in the movie. There you go. You got your part.
Did you catch, though, that Sergeant Major Quincannon had made mention that Daniel Boone's name sounded familiar?
Yeah.
And then they left it at that, that was good enough.
Yeah. And so maybe that was meant to be there too, just as, the little inside joke, like, look how lazy you are. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. He does kind of point that out. I think you got it, Rick.
Being lazy with names. When I found out that the guy who plays Daniel Boone is named Harry Carey, I immediately had to look up and find out, okay, is this the same Harry Carey that all the Cubs fan know from like the 70s and 80s?
No. I'm a cavalry man and a bud man.
Do you think the moon's made of cheese? Green cheese? Huh? If it was, would you eat it?
Oh my God, man. I remember as a kid watching Harry Carey on UGN, on the Cubs, and a 1, and a 2.
That guy had it, man. He had those big old like bottle cap glasses and stuff. And you know that dude was drunk all the time. I mean, just that dude spent the last decade of his life drunk as shit.
I remember asking an adult, I'm like, did he get sunburned really bad? And they said, no, he's red in the face because he's drunk.
Good old Harry Carey.
Well, along with Harry Carey, we also get another apparent, 1950s famous actor, and that's Ben Johnson, who plays Travis Tyree. We get a little bit of a background story about him, because shortly after the troops are settling in, we got a U.S. Marshal that shows up looking for Travis Tyree, who's wanted on manslaughter. And I'm so used to watching like CSI or LA Law or someplace where they talk about manslaughter, and I never would have thought about it in a Western movie from the 1950s.
Law's law.
There's always been levels to killing someone. Premeditated, there's in the heat of the moment. And then you just fucked around and killed somebody, manslaughter.
Yeah.
I can't believe that that's what hung you up on that scene, Matt. Because what hung me up was the guy's pants like tied off at his nipples. Like those, just like he really had 2 more straps, and it was a set of like long johns or something.
You're not familiar with the clothing of that time, where they had instead of suspenders, they had nipple clips that went under your shirt?
No, I must have missed that.
Yeah,
I've never seen that on John Wayne.
Just clipping his pants to his nipples. It's a totally normal thing. They used to have the belts for people's socks too before there was elastic waist.
The garter belts.
I guess maybe he uses it as a sleeping bag out on the trail,
So anyway, Travis Tyree, who's wanted on manslaughter. Later on, we find out why, but they have all these little threads that they're just throwing out there in the beginning as the setup for this film, which helps storytelling, and it really shines here in this film.
I will say it's really well written, and lazy names aside, it's super meat and potatoes. Like, it's just like, get down to it, get down to brass tacks, put out the pieces that need to be there. There's no more or no less than what you need to follow the story. So I enjoy that about these Westerns. I mean, it doesn't get real deep, but it usually doesn't miss out on a lot either. It gets you right into it, right through the story. And even when they add a little bit of intricacy in there, it's still done in a very meat and potatoes kind of way that it doesn't need a lot of explanation. It just fits the story really well and gets moving.
I'm gonna grab this bone that you have for meat and potatoes, and I'm gonna continue that in the fact that I feel like it's a nice steak. They trim off all the extra fat, but the exposition's all those little veins of marbleized fat within our steaks. Fantastic.
There you go.
Why is it that every time somebody's got to discuss John Wayne, it sounds like we're sitting talking about the menu at Cracker Barrel?
Because that's good eating, sir. There's a reason there's a shotgun over the fireplace in the Cracker Barrel. That's John Wayne's people there, sir.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Tim as far as there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of extra stuff in here. There is good use of literary devices, and it has pretty decent character development. Nothing super crazy, but it does have it. I thought it was very good on that front. And man, for being 1950s, I kind of like the fast-paced moving and action bits. For instance, what we're coming up to right now with the horse riding, like that was cool. It wasn't a bunch of people fighting, and there wasn't CGI and all this craziness, but it was still cool.
Yeah.
It's real people falling off real horses. It was
man.
Really stupid for people to do that.
No, it was cool. And to see them actually show off these riding skills, man, I dug that. I'm not like a cowboy or anything, but there is something to it. It's like, yeah, man, that's pretty badass shit right there. It's no Evel Knievel, but it's pretty badass, man. Takes some serious skill to do that shit,
Well, let me ratchet up for you a little bit. It wasn't just stuntmen that did that. The actors did some of that as well. Not all of it, but they did as much as they could before they handed over to the proper horse-trained stunt riders.
So, the scene where they, quote, ride Roman style and they jump on the backs of the horses. 2 horses riding together, I'm like, that is crazy.
That's Roman style.
Where the dudes had like 1 foot on each horse and they're standing on the horses.
Yeah. It is dangerous. It's stupidly dangerous, but it looks cool on a picture.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit, think about it. I mean, have every one of you stood next to a horse in your life at least once?
Oh, yeah.
I've ridden horses several times.
No, because my uncle said don't stand next to the fucking horse.
Yeah, those are big freaking animals. Just watching a guy run and jump onto the back of one of them is incredible.
Yeah.
The things are tall.
Yeah.
That alone is hard to do, let alone riding it and then riding it while like standing on it or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's really something to behold to watch these guys do this for real in these movies.
Yeah.
That same uncle who warned me about, the horses and stuff like that, he ended up getting kicked by one while my parents were visiting about a decade ago.
Did his eyes go crossed?
No, he got him in the leg, kind of. It was a real awkward kick, like a little kick. And it kicked him so hard that it cut him and he was bleeding out.
Oh, wow.
And then he's really cheap. So he always gets the cheapest insurance. And so he didn't want to pay his high deductible. And so my dad's saying, "You're going to fucking die, Tom. You're going to the hospital."
Sir, I'm sorry, sir, but we just don't cover horse-related injuries. You'll have to leave.
I think he made them drive him so he didn't have to pay for the ambulance.
Quick, take me to a vet. They'll stitch me up.
Well, after the horse sequence, we do see that Trooper York gets into a fight with another trooper, and to settle matters, they wind up having a classic fisticuffs kind of match. What did he call it? A soldier's fight?
The Marquise of Queensberry rules, I believe, is what they fought.
Yes. This is another coming of age moment for Trooper York, and the fact that he's standing up because the guy badmouthed his father and his father's buddy, Quincannon. He's showing that he's not going to turn away from a fight. So I think that helps give him a little more respect within the ranks of the regiment.
Bro, this shit was fucking amazing, man. This was so good. And I ain't talking about them fighting that was awesome. What they were fighting about was awesome. It was taking it up 20 notches. They weren't just fighting because someone's talking shit. They were fighting because someone was saying something about the regiment, saying the colonel. Someone was saying something about their superior officers. And the person who stood up was none other than the colonel's son. And he was like, yo, man, this is a matter of honor. And what's even more is it wasn't like they were going to tattle on the superior officers about what was being said. They were like, nah, man, I ain't going to say shit. When they were like, what's this about? It's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, they ain't saying nothing. And when it came down to it, when Colonel York came into the picture, that's what everyone said. Matter of fact, it was the sergeant major who was like, I'm not at I think he said something like, I'm not at liberty to say, yeah, but respectfully. And it was like, dude, that shit. And then to top it off, Lieutenant Kirby was like, carry on. I was like, oh my God, that's just amazing. It's like he knew that this had to happen, and then once it happens, it's all gonna be good. That shit happened. Nowadays, someone's gonna get court-martials, get thrown in prison. That shit doesn't happen anymore. For whatever reason, it's just not cool to let dudes fight. I think there's something wrong there with that. I think as long as people can get it, that it's a fight, right, and it's not like people pulling out freaking guns, which does happen, and that's probably part of the problem. But there was like a matter of honor here at stake on both parties, on both sides, and I thought that this scene was just so good in that respect.
Well, it's that thing that we're missing these days where there's no consequences anymore.
Yeah.
Because back in our day, you come talking shit, somebody's going to pull your car. That's it. Like, you're going to, you say something, you're going to get punched in the mouth. And then you might be like, that probably wasn't the smartest thing I could have done. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Or if I'm going to be dumb, I got to be a lot tougher. Those are my choices,
Exactly.
And I think that that's what's being learned here. Like, this guy shot off his mouth, and now there's consequences. He's got to pay. So this guy's like, look, you questioned my honor, questioned the colonel's honor, and you've even talked bad about the sergeant. So, we're going to throw down. And what impresses York when he shows up is not the fact that these guys are fighting, not the fact that they're defending the honor of the regiment, him, the kid, whatever. It's that none of them are going to say why. Respectfully, sir, none of us will tell you why. And I think that's where he's like, that's the way it should be. You know what? This is between you guys. You go work it out. Don't bring this shit to my table. And I respect that. So carry on. You want to run your mouth. There's consequences. You're going to figure that out, and you better be big enough to back them up if you're going to do it. One part I did like, though, is that Queensberry rules is basically the building blocks of modern day boxing. So that's kind of when they call that out. That's what they're saying is we're going to box officially. And I like when they go to their own corners. We've got the sergeant comes over to the guy who's been shooting off his mouth. And it's like, you almost had him, but when you get back in there, I don't want to see you do this. And he starts smacking him in the face, and I don't want to see none of this. And he smacks him again, and he punches him and stuff. He works this guy over a little bit more to kind of even the fight.
Yeah, that was super good.
Yeah, because he slided him too. So he's like, I got to get my licks in here too. Like, you should not be talking about your sergeant like this. And then now it's going to give Trooper York a little bit more footing to probably take you on a fair fight because you are a much bigger guy than him. So I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah, that was very good.
I disagree with Tim. I think all this type of stuff happens every day, and it's called Waffle House.
Fights at the Waffle House?
Yeah, they get offended, and then they decide to fight.
I think it's the Waffle House or anytime after 2 a.m. at a Denny's. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I do want to follow down the rabbit hole with Tim on the on Quincannon. I did think it was neat that after the fight was over and both quote boxers or fighters agreed that they're cool with each other. I like how Quincannon goes over to him and says, "Oh, you had a good job there, but you got to watch that left," and then he like cold cocks him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's because he said something bad about Quincannon's got to get his vengeance. And I just thought that even when they shot it, they sped the film up or something because he flew back a little bit like classic Three Stooges shorts.
I don't know if they pulled him with a rope or something because he actually knocks another guy down in the process. So I'm wondering if they didn't have like a rope that they pulled him back with or something like that to kind of make it more dramatic. But I enjoyed that as well. But I like your point too, where it's like at the end, they're like, oh, they're both kind of cool with each other.
Yeah. That's
how it works. Even my wife says that, back in the day, if you pissed somebody off, you went out into the yard, you beat each other up, and then you shook hands and you're friends again. That was it. It was like a fight's over.
Yeah.
We solved this problem, and we're going to move on from here.
Before we move on, I just want to clarify. I'm not necessarily petitioning for people to just go berserk and be uncivilized. This was like one of those, hey, we're going to meet over by the willow tree at 3:00 kind of things, because they said 9:00 tonight. They was like a duel kind of thing. There was a measure of civility in this all, a measure of old school kind of honor, code of honor kind of thing happening. They weren't just like, I'm pissed now and I'm just going to go ahead and do this. They were like, okay, no, cool. Yeah. We can do this at 9:00 tonight. That's fine. We could do that.
Rick, I disagree. I think you and I need to meet by the monkey bars at 3:00 tomorrow. Queen's best rules. No, I totally agree. I think you're right. There's definitely a code of honor in all of that. And Trooper York gets his clock clean. He's laid out in the hospital. And we see a rather interesting scene that introduces us to the doctor. And I thought it was kind of clever where the doctor comes over and says something to him like, how you doing, son? And as soon as he opens his mouth, he throws that spoon into his mouth. And he's like, that's castor oil. Now, I realize that I'm middle-aged, but I have seen castor oil being used in old movies and being used in like Tom and Jerry cartoons. But was that a health thing? Is that snake oils?
I remember castor oil. I remember seeing like the Little Rascals and stuff like that. I think it was something you just gave to kids when they're bad because it just tastes horrible.
No, it's a laxative.
Oh, is it? Okay, I have no idea. Yeah, I just remember they would always give it as punishment.
It's a deep skin moisturizer, a laxative for dry patches and chapped lips, and to soothe inflammation, while also being a popular ingredient in hair care, eyelashes, brows, and scalp for its nourishing properties. But it's important to use it cautiously, patch test first, and consult a doctor, especially for internal use or serious skin concerns.
So it is snake oil. That's what it sounds like, snake oil.
But it don't make you shit.
Now, there you go. That's where you get punished twice. You know, it tastes bad going down and burns coming back out.
And if I recall, in that little scene where we actually see that, there was a little clip of Lieutenant Colonel Kirby had a look or something. You know, my boy actually is a man kind of thing. Like, he did good right here. He might have failed West Point, but hey, you know what? He's a man, though. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was super cool. That was a nice little touch. Like kind of how you were saying, you know, the whole thing with a father and a son relationship. I dig that.
Nice. Definitely a humanizing moment. I know what you're talking about. You know, and speaking of fathers and sons and parents, we then, you know, are introduced to York's estranged wife, Kathleen, and she arrives like unexpectedly to buy underage Jeff out of the enlistment. In a showdown with his mother, Kathleen and York kind of have a discussion about why she's there, how she's there to buy Jeff's freedom. Tells York that, hey, I've got this money. I don't want my boy in the army. And there's a lot of tension happening in this scene as these two are talking. And I'm kind of curious what you guys felt about this introduction to Kathleen, played by the beautiful Maureen O'Hara, who later we find out is John Wayne's co-star in The Quiet Man.
It's an Australian science fiction film with full frontal nudity.
She's actually his co-star in 5 movies. It's actually this one, The Quiet Man, The Wings of the Eagles, McClintock, and Big Jake. So they had a long history of making movies together.
Were they boning?
No, they were actually just really good friends. That was what she swore up and down all the way to her deathbed.
I heard John Wayne was packing.
You don't get called the Duke for nothing.
I found out John Wayne was called the Duke back when he was a child named Marion Morrison. That's his real name. He was always with his loyal Airedale Terrier, the dog breed, that was named Duke. And the local firefighters started calling Marion Morrison, John Wayne, Little Duke. And that nickname stuck with him. And later, when he got older and taller, they just called him plain old Duke. And he preferred being called Duke over being called Marion Morrison. And of course, the studios would later have him change his name to John Wayne.
All right.
Okay. Interesting.
We may have drilled down to the core of the name. So
yeah.
But I think to answer your question, Matt, is when we finally are introduced to Kathleen York, this is the only part of the film I think is a little weak as far as really the background explanation, because we don't get why they are estranged, why he hasn't seen his son for 15 years and things like that. But, you know, if you start to do the math, it's there, but you have to understand the history, which goes back again to Shenandoah, which is she's from the South. Right. And so is John Wayne. So when the Civil War breaks out, he stays with the Union. She's a staunch Confederate, and so she stays at home because he makes that comment, too, about, I heard you rebuilt. And she goes, that was easy. And all it did was take some labor. So in the South, when they burned everything down, they burned their farm. So she had it rebuilt and everything. So that's what estranges them, because he stayed with the North. She was a casualty of this war, and she was not happy the things that John Wayne and his men did, which is again, burning down farms in Shenandoah. That's the little piece we miss here. Not to mention they've been estranged for 15 years, and it's been almost 15 years since he's seen the general who was with him in Shenandoah. As far as her coming, I thought she was great. I mean, it's Maureen O'Hara. How can you go wrong? She's a great actress. She played great estranged wife. Come to get my son. I'm just going to do this. He kind of lays out, that's all fine and well, but one, I have to sign off the paper, and two, he has to agree to do it. And he's already made a commitment. If he's going to be a man, he has to honor his commitments, even if it leads him to his impending dooms. And she's just looking at it from a mother's point of view, where he's my baby and I'm going to take him home. There's still a lot of tension between them as far as this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe, because we're, 75 or so years removed from when the movie came out. And I just kind of wonder, like, maybe people were more familiar with Civil War history back then. Because, like, when I was watching it, I totally got what was happening. Although they didn't come out and say it right out. But again, you guys all know that I used to teach this shit. So for me, it was like, oh yeah, totally, I get this, And so I don't know if maybe that's what it was. Maybe back 1950s, people were just generally more schooled on the Civil War and the Reconstruction period as being that maybe less far removed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
for the viewer.
Their history book kind of stopped around 1867, so they kind of knew this like it was yesterday, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and it's still big in the culture, though, too, because, again, this leads us back to, as I said when I was a kid, what were the toys I played with? Cowboys and Indians, the Marks, Cowboys and Indians figures, the 12-inch Marks, Cowboy and Indian, action figures as well. So you were into that stuff because that's what was prevalent back then. So you kind of learn that history. Plus, we're all, as kids, we're watching Westerns all the time. You're watching one of two things. You're either watching Samurai Sunday or Westerns. Those are the two things you got on the TV. There's, sci-fi is really, it's there, but it's not that interesting yet. So this is what we were kind of living. So they sold us a lot of play sets, the Rio Grande play set, the Cherokee Mountain for the Marks, little plastic, Cowboys and Indians. And now it was Cowboys and Indians, but it was cavalry. So you kind of start learning the history because you're playing with these toys. And my dad was in the Cowboys and Indians, so he would kind of tell me this stuff. So yeah, they were much more into the Old West and probably even the Civil War back then than we are now. I mean, hell, these kids today can't even tell you about World War I or World War II, let alone the Civil War.
No, they literally cannot. They literally cannot.
Yeah, it's lost history now.
Yeah. And then I wonder if they just, like, no pun intended, they probably just didn't want to beat a dead horse, Like, if everyone already is familiar with those details of history, then, like, why go into it in depth when they already know it? And we've already established that it pretty much gets right to it without a bunch of extra exposition. What do we need to move the plot?
Yeah.
Well, and I think part of it too is in the storytelling, is that they kind of do a storytelling trope where they slowly piece these things together, like almost like a murder mystery film. They give you little tidbits here and there. The whole estrangement is because something happened in the past. Yes, it was during the Civil War. We get a little bit from the general. We get a little bit from the interaction with him and his son. We even get a little bit of what's going on with Quincannon and Kathleen.
Yo, but before we move on, dude, I was just like blown away when I saw her show up on scene. Not just because she showed up, but did you see that little lip bite, bro? Oh, my bro. I thought that was absolutely crazy. She showed up, and you could tell there was tension, but there was more than just tension on the screen that I saw. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. The little chemistry they had between the two of them. God, it was awesome. On another note, though, the idea that she came with the intention to buy Jeff out, I mean, I do know that did happen, and that is a kind of one of the problems with the Civil War, is that it was basically fought by a bunch of poor people, despite that they pretty much didn't have a whole lot of bearing on their lives. And if you were wealthy, then yes, that stuff was happening. But yeah, that scene was just so amazing, so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could feel the tension between them two, and it was weird. They didn't get a divorce. Obviously, he's, stayed with the army. She stayed at home to rebuild everything. But it's been 15 years since you've seen each other, and there's still that a little bit of that spark still between them. And I find it interesting that the story just kind of evolves around them almost rekindling their romance because of the whole interaction between her and Kirby and her wanting to get her son back. That even after Kirby tells her that no, he's not going away, and Jeff flat out tells her like no, she still sticks around.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations that just proves time can heal all wounds.
Right. And speaking of healing old wounds, we see that she's visiting Jeff in one of the tents, and notice that as he's sitting there with this bandaged up head, we see a lot in this movie about music. And I want to say that like the Sons of the Pioneers, which apparently was a folk band in the 1950s or Western singing band, they have performances throughout this entire movie. Like there is like so much music being used in this movie that it almost feels like it might be a musical.
Yeah, it was good. Honestly, I wrote in my notes, they were like the American version of mariachis, bro.
Yeah.
They were straight up serenading just about everyone. I think by the end of the film, they even serenaded General Sheridan.
But that's definitely something that goes along with big 50s movies. I mean, more than less of them have some kind of musical number in them. They're not necessarily singing in the rain or the sound of music, but a lot of them still have a lot of song numbers in them. It's still big studio productions. Even the Westerns, they might not be quite as in your face as the Sons of the Pioneers, but there's a cowboy sitting at the fire, playing, his guitar and singing a little song around the campfire at night or something. And it's never background music. It's very prominent, and they play their little 1.5, 2-minute song while all the cowboys are around it or whatever. So a lot of that still happens in the 50s. We haven't transitioned out of that full kind of semi-music production stuff until we probably firmly get into the 60s, I'm going to say, because we're still well out of the silent movie era. We're getting further away from things feeling like a stage play, but they still feel like it needs to have the certain amount of production value, and music is part of it. Because there's not as much soundtracks as there is these musical pieces in there.
I kind of get it. I mean, even you can see it's in It's a Wonderful Life, they're like singing to each other at one point or whatever. Like seeing people sing like that, it might be kind of neat, live entertainment. But God, it's like, is there 12 musical numbers in this? Because it's way more than 6. There's a lot.
There is. It does seem like a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
It is a little hard looking at it through a lens of her today.
I thought it was good. I loved it, man. It wasn't too long. They were all mostly short, and they all had meaning. That, to me, was very important. Like, when that first serenade was going on, Lieutenant Kirby had mentioned that it was upon his request. So then when they were singing, they were, like, really getting into the song and the lyrics, if you were paying attention. It was getting pretty juicy. So then he was like, hey, like I didn't say to say that. And then she was like, I kind of wish that you had.
Yeah.
She was feeling it, but then he was like, oh, but I wasn't raising you up like that much. And then she was like, but you should have. You know what I mean? Like, dude, oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Take the win, dumbass. Like, yep, that was all me. I did all that. Yeah, you take credit for all that.
Yep. Wrote it for you personally. And we have all these interactions. We get these musical numbers. We get an action sequence. We get some meat into this movie. The Apaches attack the fort one night, and many of the Apache are killed by the awakened troopers, but they do succeed in freeing their leader. When York's patrol reaches the Rio Grande after chasing after the Apaches, they discover that they're too late to capture the Apaches that he was following, but he does meet a Mexican patrol. And York and the Mexican lieutenants in command, they exchange military courtesies, and both confirm that the U.S. troops cannot cross into Mexico. And I thought that this was a scene of how there's honor among soldiers of both sides. They meet in the middle of the river. It felt very much like a meeting of the minds of fellow soldiers.
Dude, for me personally, I thought that shit was fire. It was fire because those Native Americans burned down their stables that when they left, their stables weren't burnt anymore. But they did burn them when that happened. I thought was phenomenal. York's wife was being escorted by the sergeant major. in order to go to see her son right before that fight happened. And then when she got into the tent, those soldiers were all very, gentlemanlike, very gentlemanlike, man. We don't have that shit in our shows or movies or anything. We don't teach guys what that even is. You know, that's like totally missed. That's totally lost.
Yeah, it is nice to go back and see some of these classic movies where they do have a sense of honor and courtesy towards other people in films.
Yeah, but those Native Americans, I think it was something like 8 of them died in order to free 4 of them.
Yeah, well, they were freeing the leader, and is it just me?
Yeah.
Or did the leader look a little bit like a young Marlon Brando?
I don't think it was, because I think all the Indians are legitimate Indians in this. I think they all legitimately, they went to the reservation, brought a bunch of Navajos onto the set, had them play, although the Navajos, they have an interpreter there because they were still speaking Navajo. I don't think they knew they were necessarily playing Apache at the time. But yeah, I want to say all of them were legit Navajo Indians.
Gotcha.
What I did enjoy about this scene, though, is 2 things. And it's very classic. I like anytime there's heavy action, not maybe the boxing, but once you start getting the fighting going, I like how they speed the frames up to try to make it, much more. Some of that I think is just safety for the actors because they're doing all that horse stuff. And those guys cannot be falling off horses when they're going full speed and things like that. It's just going to get killed or trampled or something like that. I just think it's a nostalgia thing, like with the singing kind of captures a time capsule of movie making. So does the speeding up of the action sequences to make them seem even more intense. That was kind of their solution. We're just going to have everybody moving at breakneck speeds and all these battles so they look really intense as they're doing it. So I love that aspect of it. And then as far as the meeting of the 2 militaries on the river, I think this goes to reinforce my original statement at the beginning of the podcast. When the coffee thing is more of a metaphor about the state of politics and how it affects the military, because now you have the United States military meeting up in the middle of the river with the Mexican military, and they're very cordial. And he's like, with your permission, we could come across and assist you. I'd be happy to put my men under your command. And the Mexican commander is like, I would love nothing more than to do that so that we can take care of this Indian scourge. But unfortunately, I have my orders and cannot allow you to do that. And he's like, we also have our orders. And unfortunately, I agree with you that we cannot do this unless you grant us that permission. And so you can see the frustration of both the militaries because they are both being hand-tied to take care of this situation that's affecting them on both sides of the border. Collectively, they could do this without any problems, but their governments won't play ball. And as far as the military men are concerned, they're very frustrated with the state of the situation.
Yeah, I totally got the same thing watching this scene. I thought it was very apropos for what was going on at that time. Joey, any thoughts or comments on the attack of the Apache and the crossing of the Rio Grande?
I wanted the Apache to win.
Because you don't like John Wayne, or?
No, because it's their land. I'm looking at it through another lens, and I'm just like, yeah, we're the bad guys.
Yeah, if you know your history, you do kind of start thinking about like the Trail of Tears and everything. I get where you're coming from, Joey.
Yeah, that's true. But you also have to remember that those might not have been the Indians that owned that land to begin with. A lot of those Indians took land for other Indian tribes. It also traded hands back and forth between the Indian tribes. One would wipe another one out, take their territory. So they're not exactly innocents in this. They just came up against a superior force that finally took the land away from them. So I'm not saying the Trail of Tears wasn't horrible. I'm not saying some of the shit that we did to them was bad. I'm not saying making treaties with them and then breaking them was the honorable or right thing to do. But I'm just saying that the Indians also played a lot of dirty pool amongst themselves.
There's some very fine people on both sides.
Yes, there's some very, very fine people on both sides.
York gets back to the fort, and we get a scene that's kind of a foreshadowing to their famous or their iconic scene from Quiet Man, where after he turns on the lamplight, there's his wife sitting there. She gets up and he just lays one right on her. And you can kind of see that, okay, there's the passion there. They still love each other, but yet he has to back down. He's like, he pulls away just because of his honor and his duty. And I just thought that, yes, I did say duty, Joey.
It's his call of duty.
It's reinforcing the fact that, these are people. They do have emotions. They do go through all this. And, he's tired. He's worn out. He's ready for bed. He gives her a kiss and then sends her off on her way.
That was really cool to see their relationship get some form of development. And that also there was a matter of duty that had to be taken care of before he could even entertain those feelings any further than what he already embellished. And while they're traveling, these soldiers had a whole lot of different skills. Some were singers, some were play different musical instruments. I don't know if I remember seeing anyone playing a harmonica in this movie, but there were people who did it. They could shoot guns, they could ride horses. Nowadays, what, these guys are like 18 and stuff? Nowadays, you talk to an 18-year-old and they know how to play Fortnite. I don't know, man.
No, sir. I'm sure they have a character somewhere on one of their games that can play guitar. So they're skilled.
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool that when you don't have access to the entertainment that we do nowadays, it kind of makes you bored. And with that boredom, you start to do things, start to learn how to do things. And I'm not saying that I'm separated from that quagmire, because I am. I definitely.
You might have given that away when you have your own YouTube channel that does gaming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tips.
But it is something that, we do have a little bit of a situation that we have with the society where we have all too many things to do with our time. So it doesn't really pressure us to be a little bit more
well-rounded.
So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I kind of have to agree with you. I mean, they had, they're out west. They don't have a lot of modern day conveniences that we take for granted. But most importantly, they don't have television. So yeah, they had to come up with their own entertainment. They didn't have a Spotify playlist on the horse. So they sang traditional songs as they're galloping across the countryside or getting off their horse, having to do some reconnaissance. And I'm saying, so you have this long army of regimental soldiers on horseback kicking up a trail of dust, and what they do to let people know about their presence, not only the trail of dust, but they sing at the top of their lungs. I just thought, okay, well, this is either A, a warning that, hey, we're coming, or B, hey, here's our position. Go ahead and shoot at us.
Hey, you know what? This is the time period where they fucking use balloons in order to scout ahead.
White man sing at night, then we fight.
When you talk about the regiment singing, because there's that moment in that tent when they're doing that song, and these guys don't all know the songs, because that guy sings that one thing and he's like, hey, what's that one phrase you put in there? I never heard that before. So they kind of learn these songs from each other, and they might know only so much of it, and then some guy comes and is like, oh no, there's these other parts, and like everybody's like, oh well, teach us this is new and exciting, this let's see the special edition of this song. We want to know what it is.
Those 3 extra verses really pull the movie together.
Yeah. That song it's a whole new meaning now. It's just, wow. It blew my mind,
Tim, you had mentioned about the government restrictions on not being able to cross the Rio Grande. And we get the collar taken off of the army. In the fact that Sheridan shows back up, and now he's at that point where he's fed up with the Apache, and he says, all right, York, I'm going to give you an order that is court-martialable offense. He says it more eloquently than I do.
He could be court-martialed for it, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of a wink and a nod that he also says that if you do get captured and you are court-martialed, I'll make sure that the martial board will be people that were there with us at the Shenandoah. So I think it's kind of him letting him know that, okay, you probably won't serve a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
Or at least you won't die.
It'll be like a group of the group of peers that reside over your court martial will be friendly to you and your cause.
Yeah. He tells him, go ahead, cross the Rio Grande into Mexico in pursuit of the Apaches and kill them all. It is an action with serious political implications. York's like, well, I've been waiting for these orders, sir. Thank you very much. The next morning, he shows up in his cavalry dress, to, I guess, rekindle flames that's happening between him and his estranged wife, Kathleen. And, there's all these comments from the other soldiers like, "Oh, sir, you look extra spiffy today. You look really sharp. You look good." And, he goes over to his wife and he starts talking to her. It was a very, very romantic gesture. And they're talking about his dress and how she would very much like to wash it at some point. And I'm thinking, well, here's a woman that likes to do laundry, apparently. And he passes her the quote 2 bits, and it's a $10 bill of Confederate money. And that's when it really dawned on me what side of the war that she was on and what side he was on. And this really reinforces the fact that he still loves her. That's kind of what I got out of that whole sequence.
I took it a little bit like you said. The love is definitely rekindling. She's remembering what she loves about him. He still has never loved her. And when she says having the suit washed will cost you, as they say, 4 bits. And he hands it to her. When she unfolds that and realizes what it is, I think it's a message to her that says, I've never forgotten who I am or who you are. I just had to do what I had to do at the time. So, and I think that that's why she gets super excited. She's like, because for him to have carried that Confederate bill around that long shows that he's not forgotten his roots. I think that speaks volumes to her. It's almost like if she had found her picture in his chest when she was going through it to find the flatware or whatever. I think that was huge in that regard. And I also like when he dismisses everybody. I'm sure you gentlemen have a lot to do before the night's through, as we're going to have the women and the children move along. So I don't want to keep you from those duties. So why don't you go do that? Because I got business to attend. So
make like a tree and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you guys learn to read the room and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, bro got riz, man. That was, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was like black and white, I couldn't see, but it looked like a white coat. Was it not a white coat, or am I just seeing shit?
No, it was
white coat.
That, and he had the flowers, and he had the bill. I mean, he had the bands, bro, as they say nowadays. He had the bands. Dude, that shit was like fire, man. That dude was totally on it. He was totally on it, man.
Yeah.
Okay, not to sound like a middle-aged guy who doesn't know what you're talking about, but what do you mean by bands?
Because he doesn't know what you're talking about.
He had the money. He had the money. You know what I mean?
Oh, got it. The bands that hold the money together. Got it. All right. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Dude, that was like a masterclass in Riz, man. Bro, that was really good. That was, it was good. It was very good.
Well, let's go back and see what's going on with Travis Tyrese. He's got the U.S. Marshal after him, and finally the Marshal catches up to him, and York wasn't around to sign the papers, so Tyrese stuck in, quote, prison as he hangs out in the hospital waiting for York. We get a little interaction between Quinn Cannon, the doctor, and Tyree, and you get the feeling that everybody likes Tyree. And the doctor kind of gives him, Quinn Cannon, the old nudge of, hey, you know what? If this guy was under my charge, I wouldn't want him to be taken away. And I think that finally puts the old nail in the coffin, and Quinn Cannon tells the guy, all right, bugger out of here, because I'm going to drink this for my health, and if you should happen to not be here, then I won't take you to the U.S. Marshal. And Travis hits the road. He grabs Colonel York's horse and takes off to the brush.
I don't know if Quinn Cannon necessarily covered for him and told him to take off, because I think he just decided he was going to do that at the last minute, because he's like, well, this isn't going to go well for me, especially since he's already kind of told everybody, look, I would love to get a lawyer and fight this, but right now my sister's getting married to somebody prominent. I don't want this to get drug out, so I want to wait till she's married and on her way to California before this becomes a thing. Who knows if that's going to time out the way he wants. So I think he's kind of like, I probably better just to hit the bricks and take my chances on the run, because I don't get the feeling that the sergeant knew he was going to do that, because he kind of even yells out the window at him, I think, at the end, like, but maybe I missed something, but I don't think that was planned on his behalf.
Well, Quinn Cannon kind of suggests, okay, hey, I'm going to go take you over to the Marshal and the Colonel, but first I'm going to sit here and have a drink of this here, medicine that the doctor makes. After I'm done here, I'm going to take you on, unless you're a blackguard, swindling guy. And as he's saying that, Travis takes off. So I think he's intentionally taking his sweet time so that Travis can take off.
Gotcha. I had to watch this in 2 segments, and that's about the part where I kind of had to stop and then come back to it. So I might have missed that because it was like right there.
Yeah.
I didn't really necessarily catch that, but that does kind of make sense because at the very end, there is a scene that would corroborate that ideal amongst the officers.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of makes sense. Why is the Irish guy always drinking though, bro? You know?
Well, you could call it stereotyping, or you could just talk about it's the truth.
Big's the foot that Matt just put in his mouth.
Now,
it's a stereotype of when you're actually Irish. I don't think it is.
That you're an alcoholic? No, it's just that's just history. I don't necessarily think anybody who didn't grow up in the pub life of Ireland and they just came over here and they happen to be like second generation or third generation Irish, probably not alcoholics.
To each their own opinion.
Again, I think we've, proven three things in these Westerns, and only two of them are proven here. There ain't, you don't have YouTube, you don't have TikTok, you don't have video games to distract you. So you pretty much got either sitting around the campfire singing, drinking, or playing cards, and none of these guys had a deck of cards. So if you can't hold a tune, drinking's your game.
That's some sound ass logic right there, too.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Tyree gets away. And of course, the next morning, York leads his men towards Mexico, and he sends the women and children to Fort Bliss for safety with an escort, including Jeff. And of course, Jeff and Boone wind up meeting with Tyree out on the range. Tyree informs them that there are Apaches in the area because he found a watering hole with lots of mud tracks around it. At that point, the Apaches attack the wagons and capture the one carrying the children and Corporal Bell's wife. A few of the Braves kill some of the escorting cavalry, while the remainder fends off the Apaches. Jeff returns to the fort for reinforcements, but of course it's Tyree that saves Jeff when three of the Apaches are chasing him down on a very sped up looking film rate. Again, it's a really cool action sequence of seeing, a lone cavalry soldier riding off into the distance, trying to get away. And I thought that this was probably a John Ford classic right there.
It is. It's actually not only a John Ford classic, but some of those scenes are from another John Ford film, which is probably the other reason why they speed it up, since you can't tell it's the same guys.
Nice.
Kind of reuse some footage just to make it look more epic.
Gotcha. And I thought it was neat that as they're riding along, Tyree comes along, blows past one of the Apaches, catches up to Jeff, and then tells Jeff to hand him his gun, and then takes the horse and brings it around and lays the horse down, and then is shooting at the Apaches over the horse. And I got thinking about it. I'm like, the horse is your conveyance. You want to try to keep that as safe as possible. And by laying it down on the ground flat, it has less of a chance of getting shot.
But I'm just thinking, from the horse's perspective, like, you son of a bitch. You guys ride me hard across the desert. You're always kicking me. You're, making me lug your damn ass through these hot deserts and shit. And then when the gunplay starts, you use me for a fucking shield. I hate you guys.
You know what? I wrote down in my notes, I thought this was actually really cool how they use horses and how versatile a horse was, and even the horse was used all the way into World War II or World War One.
Korea.
And, yes, it's actually I don't know, man. Horses are badass, man. Horses are badass, okay? Don't get me wrong. It's cool being a tank or in a plane or on a motorcycle and shit, but horses are cool too, all right?
Tell that to the Russians who fought the Nazis in tanks while they were on horseback. They still drove them back, though.
I'm just saying, though, horses are pretty badass, man.
Well, and it's kind of cool because when you watch that, that's the actual actor working that horse. So he got it down on the ground, and he's holding it there while he's taking shots over the top of it. Now, I don't know if he's really shooting the gun. Maybe there's blanks or there's just nothing in there. And I'm pretty sure maybe there was only one scene because I feel like every time they pan back to him.
I hope there were blanks in there, Tim. It's a movie.
Well, I mean, my My point was there might not have been anything in there, and they put the sound effect in after the fact. Not that they were shooting real
no
freaking
blanks.
bullets.
They're
just because it might spook the horse. Because if you watch, he's holding him with his hand and kind of got his knee to tell the horse to stay down while he's aiming and shooting. If the horse is not used to having gunfire on the top of it, it's going to spook him. Because even hunting dogs, you have to train them not to flinch at the gun sound. I think every time that they kind of would cut back to him shooting, I'm pretty sure it was like one shot. And then it was the same shot each time. They just kept coming back and looping that, him shooting each of the Indians or whatever. But still, the actor's doing it. So pretty impressive that he got the horse to do all that. I don't think that dude's a stuntman. So pretty impressive that he pulled that off.
He was the Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise.
Yeah, really, he was kind of. That's some pretty badass shit to pull off as an actor.
Yeah, it was an impressive action sequence. I was rather entertained by it. And this allows Jeff to get back to the fort to tell York about what's going on. And we come back and see the results of the Apaches' attack. And here comes York with all the soldiers that are going to cross into Mexico. And he tells them, okay, hey, Jeff told us we're here. We're going to go get those kids back. And they kind of ride off into the sunset, ready to take on the Apaches. Unfortunately, as they are getting up to the river, they come across a burnt out wagon and the body of Corporal Bell's wife. And I thought that this was rather a human moment between two soldiers, in the fact that Corporal Bell comes up and he's carrying the flag, and it's York who holds him back and says, "No, don't go." And I thought that this was a very humanistic moment for our hero.
Yeah, man, I'm just gonna say it. The guy who plays Corporal Bell, not going to get the Best Actor award ever. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're coming up on a burned out damn wagon with your wife probably raped and possibly shot and or burned out, he was way too damn calm and unemotional for the whole situation. So not the best actor I've ever seen. I would lose my shit. And then it would be like, oh, it's on. We're going to kill every Indian on the entire plane. That's it. Yeah, there's nothing's going to stop me kind of thing. But the guy's not struggling. He didn't even drop the flag. I mean, fuck this flag. My wife's dead. It was not good acting. It was probably the weakest moment in the entire film as far as the believability of this guy being emotionally broke up that his wife has succumbed to this fate.
Was he not showing emotion because he's trying to be a soldier, or was it just bad acting?
It's bad. I mean, come on. I don't care how tough of a soldier you are. You're going to lose it in this situation. Unless you have absolutely no emotions in your body, you are just devoid of that, you're going to lose it. So I'm going to chop it up to just really bad acting.
Gotcha. He wasn't a universal soldier.
Yeah. Maybe if he was a Terminator. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll give it to him. This guy's really not a real human.
I think Tim's got a pretty good point here.
Well, as we move forward, our regiment moves across to the Rio Grande, and that's where we see Tyree come barreling across the Rio Grande to meet up with the soldiers. And immediately John Wayne's character yells out, "Well, go arrest him." And they bring him back to camp, and he basically spills the beans like, "Hey, I've been following these guys. They're held up in a town in Mexico. It's at this location. I'm pretty sure that I could sneak in there with a couple of men of my choosing, and we could go in and infiltrate the place and save the kids." So they work on a plan, and the two people that he picks is Daniel Boone, the great-great-grandfather of Pat Boone, and York's son, Jeff. He picks these two people because they're his best friends. I know if I'm going to be infiltrating some Apaches in the 1800s, I'd probably want my best friends beside me. And they do manage to sneak into this church where the kids are being held. We get another look at one of the kids that I think is probably the most annoying kid in the entire movie. And that's the one who is ringing this bell the entire time. And she uses the bell to hit Daniel Boone on the head. And I want to know what you guys think of them sneaking into the town and trying to save these kids.
It seemed cooler than what it was, man. I thought it was like an extraction mission, but it was like, we're going to go in there, we're going to take up a defensive position, and then if they decide they're going to come start storming the castle, we'll just shoot them. Like what the fuck, man? You got all these kids in there, dude. What if they just set this thing ablaze? Now what are you gonna do? You're gonna burn up with like 20 kids in there with you, you know? Like, what the hell kind of plan is this? However, that being said, I did think of the alternative. Like, if they were trying to sneak out, where are you gonna go? It's a desert. Like,
Right.
they're gonna eventually see you. It was okay, but it just seemed like kind of silly. But at the same time, there's really not any other option. So it was okay.
Did you guys recognize the young lady who was playing? Let's see what the name of the character is. Margaret Mary.
Yeah, I saw this.
I didn't.
She was in a bunch of movies. I saw.
She was in It's a Wonderful Life. She's Zuzu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As
She's
soon as I heard her voice, I'm like, that's Zuzu.
I enjoy when the troopers get in there and she's like, hi, how's it going? And I like the little comment they make later where it's like, I'm not real sure if that girl's on our side or the Indian side.
Yeah.
I think that really summed up their annoyance with her as well. So they found her just as annoying as you guys did for sure. So I found that very entertaining. In a modern film, this would have been the extraction. This would have been these guys going in, secretly ninja killing quite a few of these Indians, getting their way into the building, setting up some explosives, waiting for the extraction, waiting to pop that bell and then have everybody come in. And that's kind of what they did. But they just moseyed on in, slipped into the church, and they're like, well, we got about a good couple of hours before sunrise, so I guess we'll just kick back, take a nap, keep the kids quiet, and then when sunrise hits, we'll have a little loudmouth girl there ring the bell, and we'll just shoot everybody up that comes up towards the church to stop us from ringing the bell until the cab arrives. And that's what they did. So that was their whole purpose. And I mean, it was cool that they used the little cutout in the door for Indian defense. You know, it's in the sign of a cross and everything, but. So I that's about as cool as it's going to get in a 1950s flick. It's just not going to have that ultra awesome, 80s, like rescue mission.
Did you guys notice that once again, there's another stereotype of people drinking?
Yeah.
Why all these Native Americans got to be drunk, bro?
It's actually, I'm just going to say it. It's not that far off. As Matt said, it's kind of, it's ingrained into the group.
Yeah.
My family had some Indian friends, like true on the reservation Indians who we were very close with, who lived in town here at one time. He said the problem is that these people that live in the reservation that don't work aggressively to get off and educate themselves and do something, that's what they do, man. They just sit and drink. He goes, that's been the whole problem with our civilization for a long time. Once they kind of got into the firewater, it just never got any better. That stereotype, much like I was going to say Matt's Irish stereotype, is there for a reason. It's not really that far off the mark.
Yeah, the statistics are pretty staggering.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was even Tyree had mentioned that, they had plenty of tequila there. And then John Wayne was like, okay, so they're having their little vengeance dance. Evidently, it was a cultural thing for them as well. And I think that kind of helped drive home the fact that when the cavalry does show up, half the guys are all blitzed and can't react as fast, and see them come in and take the town.
They came in directly through the middle of the town.
Exactly. They all show up and they're all riding right into the middle of town, where it's like, in Box Canyon, wouldn't you have people that didn't have up on top of the buildings and shoot down and stuff?
They had their rock moment, if you will, right there. Like, look, we have the elevated position. You can't win this battle. I mean, those Indians should have been just laying waste to them.
I have the high ground, Anakin.
Maybe if they were only shooting bows and arrows, but most of them had guns. So those Indians should have been doing a lot better than they were.
Except that sniper.
They're not a highly trained military force. They don't really know how to use guns effectively. They don't train with them. Like even the cavalry, I mean, even these guys they're just coming in and they're just riding as fast as they can and shooting at anything that goes by them. Not a lot of tactics going on here for the most part, and not a lot of skilled shooting. But even when those guys get up on the church steps, they put all the horses and the wagons up, and then they just all stand in front of them, kneel down, and start firing back. I'm like, maybe get around some of the wagons. It just seems like any kind of structure you get behind would be better than just kneeling on the front steps of the church. It just seems like a no-win kind of strategy.
Well, they were the human shield so that they can get the children out of the church and put in the other wagon.
Yeah.
So they were willing to sacrifice themselves for their kids.
And those kids were having a great time because they filmed all the kids leaving and the cavalry guys, just their feet. That's all you see. It's because the kids are having too much fun. Because when you see that one brief 3-second shot where all the kids in the back of the wagon, those kids are like ecstatic. They're having the greatest time of their lives. So, they're having a bunch of fun on set doing this. So they just, shoot their feet because there's no way we're going to get these kids. They're not terrified that there's bullets flying everywhere and Indians stealing them. Even in the church, other than the one girl, she's like, hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 blah. The rest of the kids just kind of, they're like, where's the kids at? And she's like, oh, they're sleeping. And then you see these kids kind of go whoop, and they show up from behind like the fuse, and then they're like, and they go back down again. They weren't terrified and crying and stuff. So it kind of took you out of it a little bit because the amount of terror that should have been there was not.
Yeah. And I do want to go back to a moment where they come in to town and they're riding back and forth inside the town fighting all these people. And one of the Apache Indians, as Rick had pointed out, is a bow and arrow as a sniper. Was it just me, or did that arrow look a little suspiciously like the same arrows we saw being shot at Indiana Jones at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark? I mean, I felt like looking at that thing, it wasn't going to go very far.
If any of the viewers wanted to listen to our review of Indiana Jones, The Raiders of the Lost Ark, then you should check it out. Not only was there myself, Tim, Matt on this podcast, you'll get to see who my brother is because he was there too. It's a very good one. Very, very fun.
Yes, it was.
It had the craziest arrowhead in the end too. It wasn't like just a one little tiny arrowhead. It looked like it went halfway up the shaft on it or something. It was really strange. And the other part I enjoyed is that I didn't notice it in the movie when I watched it, but when we watched that trailer for the Blu-ray, if you distinctly heard, you see that Indian pull back and you hear that tung, you hear that twang of the bow. You don't get that in the actual movie, so they must have added those sound effects in later.
Yeah.
Silly, kind of. Like you said, the kids seem like they're excited to be there, so does that, lower the stakes for the audience, or is it more like he wants you to know that they're going to be okay? It's not dramatic, but it should be dramatic. I don't know how to feel about it. But I think it's something of the period is that you got to keep something a little bit upbeat. Even when your hero takes an arrow, you kind of know he's going to be all right. So I don't know. It wasn't, the stakes were low. I knew everything was going to be okay.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about the family of fathers and sons again, because poor Colonel York, he gets that arrow through his chest. It's his son that he tells to pull the arrow out. And I thought that was very much a good relationship between the two, because it kind of shows his son that, hey, I now see that you're a man. You've earned respect from me. Pull this arrow out of me, because gosh darn it, it's a heroic thing to do. Or am I reading too much into this?
I think it was that final moment. It's like, look, this is what it's about. This is the flip side of it. It's not all glory and medals and honor. It can be death, destruction, and pain and anguish. And this is what it is. Pull the arrow out of me. This is part of it. Like, this is the downside of being, a military man. You may die. Or at the very least, you may get wounded like I am, and you got to be a man about it and have it removed, because there's just the two ways about it. Like, you got to pull the arrow out, and we got to seal the wound or whatever. And you got to be a man about this too. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, and so then after getting the arrow pulled out of him, he gets up on his horse and they all manage to head back towards the fort. I find it funny that he takes off and he's on his horse, but yet when he shows up at the fort, he's in a sling and being pulled behind the horse.
That's because that motherfucker should have died. That's why. I don't think it was a good idea for him to have that arrow being pulled out. They don't have any antibiotics. That shit hadn't been invented yet. This motherfucker probably died of sepsis before he showed up, man. He should have been dead.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Really, what they should have done. Well, I mean, one, just he gets shot with the arrow, and then he's laying on his stomach. I don't know. The last time I checked, when you get shot through the front with an arrow and you roll over in your stomach, it pushes it all the way through your back. So that shit was on John Wayne, was like on a plate. It was sitting sideways, and he rolls over and it kind of bounces back up and forward. But like normal common sense would be like, break the arrow off at the stem and just leave a little bit hanging out of me. And wait till we get back, and I'll let the surgeon take a look at it and pull it out and stop the bleeding. Just pull that.
Yeah, I was thinking he just killed his dad.
Yeah. It's like,
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
pull the arrow out, boy. But Dad, you're bleeding like a fountain. He's like, shit. Well, boy, there's a life lesson for you. That was probably like, God, yeah. It's spraying out blood all over the kid. He's like,
Isn't that how the croc hunter died? Pulling the barb out from the stingray?
Yeah, it was essentially a biological arrow that was in his heart. Yeah.
Yeah. It went straight into his heart, though. I think that was just a done deal,
Yeah.
At least with John Wayne, it was just tickling the lung a little bit over there.
He's got 2 of them.
Yeah. And, as we know, the Duke kicked Cancer's ass twice with an arrow.
After they get back to the fort and York recovers, they wind up having troopers Tyree, Boone, Jeff, and Corporal Bell, and Indian Scout Son of Many Mules decorated as commendations for bravery. And of course, as this is happening, who shows up but the Texas Marshal reappears, and Trooper Tyree is then not only is he committed, but then I believe we hinted at it, but Colonel York shouts out, "Yes, and Colonel Tyree now has a 7-day furlough," and he immediately jumps onto a horse and takes off. I believe that this just further shows the tight-knit group that these soldiers are going into this regiment. Anyone got any thoughts on Tyree and his sudden escape from a possible arrest by the U.S. Marshal?
Yeah, it's really cool. They're in the middle of that, medal ceremony. They're going to start passing out all these bravery medals and everything. All of a sudden that sheriff shows up. He's like, "Oh, and he gets a 7-day furlough." He's like, and kind of waves the hand like, "Thanks." And he jumps on. And I enjoyed the fact too, where I think it was the little girl looks over and she goes, "General, he's got your horse now." So,
yeah.
He's like, "Well, at least he's got a good taste in the horses." He's like, yes, he knows a good horse when he sees it. So it was a cute ending, as far as that goes, is tying that little thing up and just showing everybody's like, "Look, Sheriff, you're never going to get this guy. We love him. We're going to protect him. Every time you come, he's going to disappear. So just let it go. Just tell somebody you shot him out in the middle of the desert. It's all done with. It's not going to happen."
And of course, at the end, there is another last wink and nod, and I think this is also another point where General Sheridan kind of like smoothed things over between him and York's estranged wife, and the fact that he has the troops, the regimental soldiers, play Dixie as the end of the movie, as the soldiers are all marching off, and you can kind of see that Maureen O'Hara is into this because that's the South's song. And she seems quite happy with everything. So it seems as though the relationship between York and the general is back together. The relationship between his wife and him are back together. And he has this profound relationship now with his son. And I think it's just a great way of like wrapping up the whole point of this movie. Did you guys get the same feeling out of this ending?
Yeah, I think they were super shocked that, that band started playing Dixie. That's traditionally not something that a Union band is going to play. And they kind of look at each other. They're a little confused. And then they look over at the general. He's like, "I told him to play it." So it's kind of was, look, we fought the South, but we still respect the soldiers. Because there was times even back, during when the Confederates were surrendering, a lot of the Union generals were like, "You'll still show the respect to these soldiers. They're still your brethren and they still deserve your respect, even though they fought on the opposite side of this war." So, there's a little bit of understanding amongst, the military men that, there is honor, even if you're on the other side. That starts to break down when we get into World War I and World War II, when we start to get into these horrible atrocities. And there's still atrocities that happened in the Civil War, but not at a great extent. So there was going to be respect amongst the military ranks, no matter which sides you were on. And I think that's what the general was trying to tell him. Like, look, you did your duty. I respect that you were on that side, and I don't mind showing that respect by having this song played for you.
Right. How about you, Joey? Any thoughts on them playing that song at the end?
I thought it was cute, and then again, it's just not a serious war movie, so to speak. So I don't know. It was a little cutesy.
Gotcha. What about you, Rick? Any thoughts on the end of this movie?
No, I thought it was cool. Good little happy ending at the end. Kind of ties everything together. Nice little bow. The people who were the favorites through the movie, they had their happy ending, and the two estranged lovers got together. The boy became a man. I mean, it was like, it was like nice little bow on everything. Even Tyree, he was able to kind of get his last little parting gift in the movie. So it was great. It was a nice little good ending.
Nice. All right. Well, gentlemen, that is the movie Rio Grande. Before we delve into our death clock, let's take a look at where this film stacks up in the old IMDb. So, with over 19,000 user ratings, this film weighs in at about a 7.0 out of 10 stars. Several reviewers find that the film is the lesser of the John Ford Cavalry trilogy, point out that it is a decent snapshot of filmmaking in the 1950s, as well as a look at a post-Civil War storyline. Now that we see where it stands on IMDb, where does it stand with our panelists and their death clock? So, gentlemen, we all have a limited amount of time on Earth. Should someone take the 1 hour and 45 minutes to watch this film? Joey, what do you think?
No, I didn't, and neither should you. Finishing it, I'm watching the very, very last tail end of it right now, and all that music reminds me of is much better cartoons than this movie.
Okay.
If you want to see a lot of beautiful landscapes, you'll see it in this, but they'll be in black and white. If you want to see a bunch of men lined up, usually at an interesting angle, watch this movie, and then watch The Fabelmans to find out how to make your shots interesting as well at the end. Because we have a fictional John Ford played by what was the name of the guy who just died who did Twin Peaks?
David Lynch?
David Lynch plays John Ford at the end of The Fabelmans. Spoiler alert.
Thanks, I haven't seen that movie yet.
Well, it's just a little itty bitty scene at the end, and it's very cute, and it's about framing your shot, making it interesting. Other than that, it has nothing to do with the movie.
Gotcha. Well, how about you, Rick? Are you in the boat with Joey?
I'm not. I thought the Rio Grande seemed to be quite an interesting movie. Like I said, I never really watched any Westerns, so in my opinion, I thought that this movie was more or less a masterclass in how men had been portrayed in the past, or at least, back in the day when chivalry was still a virtue held in high esteem. I am super duper glad that I watched this. I think it was fantastic. And I, after having seen this, would be pretty interested to see more Westerns, actually. If there were anything similar to this, which I imagine that they probably they probably are. And I thought it was good, man. I thought it was good. There was a lot of very, very good. I mean, especially nowadays, you hear the word toxic masculinity thrown around like candy. This shows how untrue that term really is. So I liked it.
Chivalrous masculinity, respectful masculinity.
And that's what masculinity is about. It's about knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. It's about being the toughest motherfucker out there and knowing that you hold back because you know your strength is that much. You have to hold back, That's why there were so many scenes where there was a measure of honor in there.
Gotcha.
Because they were badasses and they know when to, as they say, know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
All right, I'm going to give you some bonus points for that. All right. I like your viewpoint there, Rick. Tim, what do you think? Is this worth taking that hour and 45 minutes off somebody's death clock?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a perfect example of a classic, Western, albeit a cavalry, Western, produced in the 50s era. It just, again, it gets right to the core of the film. You don't need you have just the right amount of exposition without having too much. It's enjoyable. The scenes are fun to watch. It has some really good messaging in it. You're just not going to go wrong. This is a good place to start with John Wayne movies because honestly, this is a good movie, but they get better from here. I mean, there's some bad John Wayne Westerns. Some of the really early ones when he's a very young man, not as good. But this is where we're really starting to get into the really classic John Wayne stuff. You're just going to get better and better from here. It's just, he's a phenomenal actor, and he made some great Westerns. So it's not a bad place to start. It's not even a bad place to find in the middle of it, like I did, because I've seen a lot of them, and I was surprised that I had not seen this one. So it was kind of a treat, again, to discover another John Wayne Western that I hadn't seen.
Nice, nice. Well, this is my second time watching a John Ford and a John Wayne film. I'm going to say that, yes, it is worth taking your time off your death clock. I'm looking forward to watching future John Wayne films and John Ford movies as well, just because I kind of like the feel of this. Now, albeit it's definitely looking at it through the lens of today into the 1950s film style. And there's some things that I probably could have, glossed over or slept through or sped past, particularly a lot of the musical sequences. But all in all, I think it's a good movie to sit down and watch. It doesn't have a whole lot of fat to it. I mean, it's well thought out. There's a good storyline here. It's really neat. So yeah,
how many
I would
times
say it's
did you
definitely
fall asleep?
2 times.
Okay,
But again, I was watching it late at night after a long day of work. So I mean,
you
it
heard
was-
Matt. It's a great movie to fall asleep to.
No, man, no. I totally get what Matt is saying. Look. I have been having a blast watching that Fallout series. I was trying to watch that motherfucking movie last night, or that TV show last night. I couldn't stay awake to save my life, man. So I totally get that. Long day
You're
of work.
saying it's just age, and we
This is the Middle Age Review podcast, bro.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, folks, if you want to give us some feedback on how old we are and how we can't stay up watching these movies, we'd love to hear from you. So please leave us some feedback. You can email the show at manreviewpodcast@gmail.com, and you can have your email right here on the show, or leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify, and we'll discuss it here too. If you think that Joey is totally wrong in not liking this movie and not including it as part of your death clock, let us know. Or if you don't agree with us and you think that this movie is, pointless, then, let us know. So, gentlemen, now that we've reviewed our wonderful film, Rio Grande, what else are you watching that is worth sharing? And Joey, since you didn't care for Rio Grande, I'm going to give you a chance to promote something that you enjoy. So,
I did not fall asleep last night when I was watching the latest episode of Fallout. I think it's great, and I think the lead actress's eyes are getting bigger somehow.
Agreed.
Like, I seriously think, like I don't know if it's the episode it started at the end of the last episode and then it continued through this episode. So I don't know if she has some like medical bulging eye syndrome, or if they did something in post to kind of emphasize that like she was addicted to something that they used to heal her in the previous episode.
Yeah. What's it called? Some of the B, right? Like blaze out or burnout.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it is a drug.
it was like, yeah, but it was like, here, you're healed, but you're addicted to this, and now your eyes bulge, and you're an addict, and you kill a normal person for the first time, and you can't believe you did it. So yeah, beautiful but huge fucking eyes, like to the point where like she wasn't maybe as pretty as like her eyes were really just popping out of her fucking head.
Yeah, buff out.
Man, I hope you guys don't find out that she had to have her thyroid burned out or something. You're going to feel really bad.
Yeah, I hope she's okay. I really do.
Feel really bad when you find out that's what happened and now her eyes are bulging because of it.
I hope it was CGI. People were making a Evangeline, like Battle Angel, like memes and stuff like that. That's a movie where there's a CGI character with big, huge fucking eyes. Yeah. Anyways, watch Fallout. It's great. Oh, and there's even they even call it fake Fallout talk show. You get to see little interviews with lead actors, and they have a character actor who's on Fallout host it in character in his makeup. He's really funny. He was on, I can't think of his name right now. I'm sorry, but he was on Kroll's show, and he knocks it out of the park. He's funny.
Cool. Well, how about you, Tim? Are you going to tailgate on the Fallout, or you got something new?
No, I finally finished Rick and Morty season 8. Son came back over Christmas break, and we finished that just before he went back to school. So I was happy to get that, finally on the viewer there, and was able to watch it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And then I started Landman with my wife, and Billy Bob Thornton. Not disappointing in this one. It's pretty damn funny. The lines on it are just gold. Just the delivery of the lines between him and his wife and some of their characters. It's a fantastic film.
First season still?
Yeah, first season still. It delivers for sure.
You know what? So even in the second season, it's just the situational setup for that is just so good. It's just so good.
There is shit that he says on there that I'm just like, I wish I had thought to say that. You know, he's just there's things he says like, I would totally say something like that if I could get away with it.
It's good writing. It's just it's good writing, you know.
Yeah, it is solid.
Nice.
How about you, Matt?
Hold on.
I'm sorry. How about Rick? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Wait. Yeah. Hold on. I gotta cue this up.
Okay.
All right. Rick, we all want to know what dictionary long anime are you watching now?
I am watching the 4th season of The Rising of the Shield Hero. I know it's not super duper long, but it is a fantastic anime. I tell you, if you haven't seen The Rising of the Shield Hero and you watch anime, what the fuck are you doing? You should be watching this, okay? It is literally the best. It is literally the best.
Said I'm sitting around a campfire singing songs. That's what I'm doing.
It is literally the best. I actually have been. The 4th season came out like 6 months ago, and I just been trying to line up with my son to be able to watch it. And like Tim, you know, son's at school and stuff, so it's sometimes hard to coordinate when we can watch it together and stuff. But also, as Joey said, I'm also watching Fallout as they are coming out each episode. God. Okay, so look, I don't know what I was thinking. I watched, I think it was an episode of the newest season of The Witcher. I don't know what I was thinking, you guys. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking like maybe it would, even though people are talking that it wasn't very good, I was like, maybe it isn't that bad. Jeez, man.
I didn't know that show was still going.
I wasted an hour. I just completely wasted an hour. It's just, I don't even want to talk about it. All right. Look, it was.
Then don't.
Yeah. Because that dev clock ain't rewinding, sir. It's not rewinding.
I have been playing this new game, though. It's not a new game. It's new for me. It's called Raven Watch. It's pretty cool. Nice little game. It's like a mix between Diablo and Elden Ring Night Rain.
Oh, holy shit. Is it 4-player? Can we play online?
Yeah. And your son's playing on it, too.
Is it PlayStation 5 only?
No, 4 and 5.
Well, I'm getting a 5. And my 5 came. I ordered it from a super big retailer that might have their own streaming service. And they put my PlayStation 5 in with a giant box or giant bag of cat food. Like a big old bag of cat food. Then this thing makes it to my door. It looks like that box that Ace Ventura kicked down.
Yeah.
Street while he was trying to deliver it. It's taped up because it's falling apart and stuff. It's got tape just hanging off of it, crap.
This cannot
and then I open
be true.
up, and the seal's broken on the PlayStation 5 box. Like literally, the seal is completely broken. And somebody's opened it, so I'm like, nope, this is going back. So I have to wait for my next PlayStation 5 to come. I have to reorder it.
Yeah, so, you could play this game on the PS4, the PS5. Computer, all that. It's cross-play, everything. And yeah, your son is playing it too, man. You should definitely get on it.
Yeah, I didn't know this. I didn't know this existed, but if it's Diablo-like, I'm on it, man. We'll go
it's
make
awesome.
some Dungeon Master Elite videos on your site, you know, of how bad I play video games because I'm old and I don't have any more Twitch left in the stick.
Yeah, so Rick, you know, before I tell you what I'm watching, where can our listeners check out your video games that you're playing?
So I have the YouTube channel called Dungeon Master Elite. That's no spaces, Dungeon Master Elite. And I play games. Mostly the games I play are strategy games, RPG, and Souls-like games. I have a lot of Souls-like tutorial videos. I have some walkthrough videos for most of the major Souls-like or Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne. As far as strategy RPGs, I play things like Tactics Ogre, Fell Seal, Arbiter's Mark, and I haven't put any XCOM 2, but I love any games like that. I play those games and I put videos. I haven't put a video on Raven's Watch yet, but I don't know. I'm thinking I might, because apparently they're coming out very soon. They're coming out with a new DLC where you'll be able to play as Merlin the Wizard. So that sounds very fun.
Well, folks, if you've watched Dragon Master Elite's videos, you've watched Fallout, you've watched Rick and Morty, check out for this year the 40th anniversary of Labyrinth. That's right, guys. Labyrinth came out in 1986, and just today, I decided that I want to go back and watch something from my childhood. Checked out some David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly when she was still kind of young, and I'm like, man, I forgot how much I like this movie, and I also forgot that it was written by Monty Python alum Terry Jones, and it also was choreographed by one Cheryl McFadden. And for those of you who don't know who Cheryl McFadden is, her other stage name is Gates McFadden, a.k.a. Dr. Beverly Crusher.
By the way, that's my wife's favorite movie.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, Tim, you want to take us home?
Thanks for listening to Middle Age Movie Reviews Podcast and our review of Rio Grande. We hope you've enjoyed it, because I know we were happy to drink the firewater while we brought it to you. And if you did enjoy the review, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your friends. Let's make 2026 the year you help us grow this podcast and really help get the word out to the masses. Not only are you helping us grow the MAM community, but you're doing your friends a solid by keeping them from wasting their precious death clock on crappy movies.
Follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Have a comment or suggestion, then email the show at mamreviewpodcast@gmail.com. And we are also part of the Electronic Media Collective Network. Yes, it's a mouthful.
Thanks. Stay cool, and bye, everyone.
Oh, by the way, the name of the comedian on Fallout is John Daly, and he plays the snake oil salesman.
When the lights go down, the big screen gets so bright. I got my favorite beverage, snacks, and my chair feels right. Yeah. Color, silent, black and white. You never know what's on that screen tonight, but you're gonna find out on Middle Age Movie Reviews. Well, will I like it? Will I like it? 'Cause you know the death clock. No, it's not rewinding. No, will I like it? Will I like it? 'Cause you know the death clock. No, it's not rewinding. Oh, will I like it? Will I like it? 'Cause you know the death clock. No, it's not rewind.